when I met you the first time, you were actually a Breatharian. Breatharian, it's said, no, like no eating.
I was very strict. It's never fully changed, but I was very strict.
Consuming just prana, or living on prana,
and liquids.
Living on. How was that? Because you told me a little bit that that was also part of you wanting to show yourself, and I think probably the world, that
God exists. That was my motivation.
So how is that?
So this is, I think the pranic process actually was a purification for me to meet Guruji. I will explain to you.
When did it start? Like, so just to have the timeline.
So on the autobiography of a yogi, when I first read it when I was 14, then I read about Giri Bala and about Teresa Neumann. It's inside the book there. And that stayed in my mind. And then when I was still in Brazil, some time later, I was watching some interview show late night on TV. And there was this couple, a Brazilian lady and an American guy. I forgot her name now. They were basically being interviewed about that. So they said, oh, I made this 21 days process, and we are like 1 year not eating, and we are fine, and we have a doctor here that testifies. And she says, my husband's a saxophone player, he can play saxophone, you know, requires energy, breath and stuff. And so that stayed in my mind for a long time. My parents didn't like the idea at all, but I ordered the book that explained that process. And so basically this was just in the back of my mind almost every day. Meanwhile, my life changed. My guitar teacher told me to move to Germany or America to study. So I was in Germany studying and left the university in Brazil.
When did you move to Germany?
In 2007.
2007.
Yeah, in the end of 2007. So I came, 2008, I officially started the studies here. So in 2011, and then life kind of converged so that I actually did this process. Just a bit before, I prayed to God. I was every day thinking about it, doing my Kriya from Yogananda and every day thinking about this process.
About this pranic.
Yeah. And then one day I got fed up and I said, God, if you want me to do that, you have to give me a sign. And the sign has to be, I need to meet somebody who lives like that and spend some time with such a person. So I sent this message to the universe. And then I was there was a social media called Orkut that was very big in Brazil. I was living in Germany, but I was using that social media back then, before Facebook was a thing. So there was a little community online on Breatharianism. And there was one guy who's now my friend, Oberon. He's actually just releasing a really nice documentary on yoga and stuff called Muko. He got many prizes. Oberon, he wrote in that group, I will be in Europe giving talks on that and on yoga in general, and Patanjali, that's his field. And he will be going from Munich to Paris, but there's a week break. If anybody lives between these two places, could receive him at home. And I lived in Saarbrücken, like exactly between Munich and Paris. So I wrote him, said, if you want, you can just stay in my house. And just took some hours, he already confirmed. So he came to my house and stayed, I mean, my student house, well, like one kitchen, one living room, 4 students living together. He stayed in my room together. We had a really great time. We did yoga together. He was just drinking water and I was just eating German bread. If I would take anything else, I would feel ashamed in front of him. He was strong and was super nice. You know, I organized some little talks in yoga studios for him. And at the end of these days, I realized, oops, that was my prayer. Now I have to do this. So his family has a farm in Brazil, like a little retreat center for doing the process and other kind of retreats. So they have like 11 little huts in the forest. His mom was the first to do the process, then his father, and then he plus 2 other brothers and sisters. So the whole family lives like this. Back when I made the process in 2011, he was already for 10 years living like this.
Wow.
And
just living on liquid.
Yeah. He said sometimes he would eat some soup because his wife was not Breatharian, so she would cook soup and he would have soup with her and stuff like this. So basically, I did the process. Next summer holidays, I went to Brazil, to his place, and I did the process. And in that process, on the third day, you spend the first 7 days without water. And then they say in the first 3 days you get weak, and then on the fourth day you start to feel better. They all say that. And it was exactly like that. On the third night, I was feeling cramps on my legs. Something was happening to me. I vomited something green. And on the fourth day, I started to feel better. And then on the seventh day, you start drinking some water. And your body starts to come back. And actually worked. And that's it.
And then you stayed for like that?
On that first week, I had a dream with Yogananda. My only and last dream with Yogananda. He came. He was in a European castle, like a tower. And he walked down the castle and gave me a hug. And for the first time, I felt a confirmation that to do this process was actually okay for him, because I was just doing his techniques. Otherwise, I never did anything spiritually that was not really from him, and since I got initiated. And I always had this little insecurity that I'm doing something extra. So I did the process, and in the, let's say, the 21-day process, on the day 22, somebody was driving me to the bus station. So I would go back home. And this is the moment where I believe, like, my connection to Guruji, Swami Vishwananda, kind of got a new wire, let's say, before I met him physically. Because this guy was telling me in the car, let's say, B-side stories from Yogananda that I never heard because they're not on the official books from SRF. Then he said, you know, there's this prophecy that Yogananda was in California, and then he said, I will come back to this earth, to this temple, clap and sing, and nobody will recognize me. Yogananda said that. And the moment he said that, I felt such a pain in my heart. Then I remember I closed my eyes and I made a strong prayer. And I was in this miracle mindset because I was 21 days not eating, feeling great. So I was like, I'm living a miracle. No, yeah. I was supposed to die on the fourth day. I was feeling great. And then I was like, wow, I was like a super yogi. You know?
22 days, no food and no water.
7 days, no water, but already water. Since the 7th day, you start water again. And then I made this prayer. I closed my eyes and I said, Guruji, if you are on earth, please let me be with you. So that was March 2011. And in September 2011, I met Swami Vishwananda. Oh. So that's why I believe this prayer was when Guruji said, okay, enough, now you can meet me.